Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, hump day, as they say. And today for hump day, we're reading Acts 18, verses 18 through 23. After this, Paul stayed many days longer, and then took leave of the brothers and set sail for Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila. At Cenchreae he had cut his hair, for he was under a vow. And they came to Ephesus, and he left them there. But he himself went into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they asked him to stay for a longer period, he declined. But on taking leave of them, he said, I will return to you if God wills. And then he set sail from Ephesus. When he had landed at Caesarea, he went up and greeted the church, and then went down to Antioch. And after spending some time there, he departed and went from one place to the next through the region of Galatia and Phrygia, strengthening all the disciples. So Paul's traveling around. He leaves Corinth and goes to Ephesus. Now, Ephesus is not on the coast of Turkey. It's a little ways inland, not terribly far. So you could say that's how he traveled, by ship to Ephesus. It's interesting that when he got to Cenchreae, which is, Corinth is sort of on one side of the little isthmus, and Cenchreae is on the other, and there was some traffic between them so that they didn't have to unload ship. They could unload the ship and take it across and reload and avoid a longer sailing adventure. That's where he had his hair cut. Now, he was under a vow, it says. If you go back and look at Numbers 6, you'll see the details about a Nazirite vow. You could take the vow for any length of time, for any purpose. But during the vow, you weren't supposed to come into contact with dead bodies or things that were unclean. You weren't supposed to eat grapes, and you weren't supposed to cut your hair. And so Samson is somebody who was under a Nazirite vow and had great strength, right? So Paul's been under this vow for some reason or other, and ends it, cuts his hair, and they go on to Ephesus. Paul goes into the synagogue briefly and argues with him for a while, and then he leaves a few days later, and he travels, it says, to Caesarea and Antioch, and then up through Galatia and Phrygia, which is into Turkey or Asia Minor again. So, there's several places called Caesarea. The one I was thinking of was further down the coast of Israel, but everywhere that Caesar ever landed his boat, they named it Caesarea, so it's hard to know which Caesarea this was. But he went back basically home. He went back to Antioch, back to Syria, and visited his friends and visited the churches there, and then he went up through Galatia. And so he's always on the move, and he's always visiting the churches that he's been to before, the places where he's seen the faith break out and the churches form. He goes back to check on them and strengthen them and answer their questions and just sort of be there for them. He does this a lot, and then he moves on. So it's a different kind of ministry than the kind that we normally see practiced in our time. Paul is, he promises to come back to Ephesus if he gets a chance, and he does. Later on, he sees the Ephesians again. But for now, he's going from one place to another, and he's traveling around. Now, meanwhile, there's going to be a guy in Ephesus that they're going to instruct, and he's going to have an encounter with later on. So that comes in the next few days. But for now, we see Paul traveling around, and so in our travels around, and I know we don't go, we don't travel a lot. We don't go hundreds of miles every day, or anywhere by ship, but we travel, and we go from place to place, and we greet people and meet people, and everywhere we go, we should be aware of the fact that Jesus is with us, God goes with us, and we should interact with people, reflecting our faith as Christians. So keep that in mind today. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning.